We were talking about heroes a bit off camera, and you had talked about how your desire to create or show a certain type of hero was very important to you.
Yeah.
Can you talk about what that is, and what does a hero represent to you in storytelling?
So yeah, I my fascination with it was with the hero figure. It didn't start like with comic books and superheroes. It really started with action heroes and martial arts. And growing up as a young kid, studying Chinese martial arts, I was a huge fan of action cinema. And by the time I reached maybe 15 is when it really struck me. I realized that all my heroes were Asian, you know, and I was like, wow, like I'm doing the same martial arts, but none of them look like me, you know. And so yeah, that's really when my journey started as far as filmmaking, because I made a vow that I would create platforms where I could showcase heroes that look like me but that fought like them, you know. And that was sort of where like my filmmaking journey started right then. I just felt like I wanted to see more heroes that reflected the way I looked up there on the screen. And it was never like exclusively that, you know, exclusively my image, but I just wanted to see I guess more of an even playing field, like more heroes that reflected myself and my friends. And so yeah, that's sort of where it came from for me. The idea of a hero, like a person who would fight for what they believed in and fight for the right things, and protect the people they love, and protect the world, and someone who was like righteous and upstanding, and, you know, who had sort of all those qualities that I felt were like important, you know, things that were instilled in me as well. And yeah, so that's kind of, I guess, where that started. And even up until now, I felt like I wanted to contribute to that. I wanted to contribute to the idea of now that the superhero genre is so big, like it's sort of taken over everything. And there are a lot of discussions now, a lot of like people focusing on like more inclusiveness, I guess, across the board, in all genres. And it's interesting now. I feel like the audiences are more vocal about it, and they're sort of ready to see more representation of female superheroes, superheroes of color, of every race, every creed. And yeah, I didn't want to be one of those people who just sort of complained about it. I wanted to do my part and sort of contribute to it. And that's sort of where Wonder Studios comes from. Wonder Studios is like a division of my company, Shadow Motion Pictures. And that division is going to be sort of solely for like films in the superhero genre and sci-fi genre. Yeah.
What about the character flaws in heroes today that are acceptable or maybe even embraced versus decades ago? Have we evolved in terms of allowing these superheroes to have more character flaws?
I think so. I think because we've been exposed to a lot more. I think when back in the 90s and, you know, 80s, 90s, that sort of thing, there was a very black and white sort of, this is what a hero is, this is what a villain is, you know, that sort of thing. And I think because we've been exposed to so much more material through streaming platforms, through television, and movies, we're getting a lot more I'm noticing things are a lot more raw, a lot more gritty, and we're sort of seeing characters that to me feel more human because they're gray. You know, they're shades of gray, and to me, it's a more realistic depiction of what a hero could be because I feel like everyone has shades of gray. There's certain times when things may happen in our lives and we may get angry, but we're still a good person. But you know, we may react in a negative way or whatever the case is. And yeah, I feel like social media. I feel like just media in general has sort of impacted these stories, and we're seeing a lot more anti-heroes and you know, we're seeing a lot more shades of gray, which is much more interesting than sort of the cardboard cutout sort of hero, because it's harder to relate to that idea because nobody's black and white, nobody is perfect, you know. And so I think that's why people relate to Batman more than Superman. I think that's why Batman is more, it's probably a little more popular than Superman, because Superman is more of an idea than a tangible sort of, it's hard to connect on a human level with Superman, you know, because he's, you know, he's like a god and he doesn't do anything wrong, you know what I mean? And so, whereas with Batman, like all of the reasons he became a hero was sort of born out of pain and loss, and he's angry and he's isolated, and you know all these things like people I think relate to more. Yeah, I like Batman more too. So I think that's one of those are the reasons why, though. You know.
Do you think as a culture we're almost distrustful of quote unquote heroes or figures that are too perfect in this day and age?
Yeah, I think we immediately don't buy into it. Like if, you know, because there's no one's perfect, you know. If we're talking about a human being, they can't be perfect. So it's the minute we're sort of presented with that idea, we're like, we're looking for things that are wrong. We're looking for, you know, like we're looking for the truth, I guess. Yeah. So that's how I feel about it. I just, there is no perfect person, and anyone who presents themselves that way is not to be trusted, for sure.
Well, we're in an age now where let's dig up some dirt on this person. Not saying that that's the right thing to do, but it almost seems like that's where we've gone. It's become acceptable. Let's find an old photo. Let's find an old tweet. Let's try to get somebody on their dance floor and make them look bad in public. Something. I mean, it's become part of what we see every day in the news and on Twitter, and
yeah, absolutely. And
so it would seep into storytelling.
Yeah, and I think that's a dangerous approach. I think because I liken social media to like a Sims, like a live action Sims game where people have sort of these lives that they've created and they're sort of living through these avatars. And you know, I've always felt that like the bigger social media got, the more antisocial people became. Like, because you rarely see people in person outside of some type of event, especially like when it comes to the industry. Like, people rarely spend any time together anymore, like outside of a film event or a premiere or some type of something like that. But just to see each other, like, you're not gaining any other thing from it other than just, you know, having that relationship and spending time and being close and that sort of thing. And I think that's been lost quite a bit because of the way that social media sort of operates. Like, you know, and that's why you have people who are very awkward socially, because they never see anyone. It's easier to sort of be more outspoken and to have a certain personality when it's online, because there's no physical connection there. It's and I remember growing up, and the only time you see your friends, you'd have to go outside and hang out and be outside all day, and you saw people every day, and that's how you built those relationships. And yeah, now it's very rare that happens. And so I think, even because being a writer, I think like your life experiences help you. But if most of what you're experiencing is like through the web, it's like where does it come from now? Like where does how much of yourself are you really putting into your stories? Or I think you can lose a bit of that genuine sort of part of yourself that is so important in storytelling. Like, and it becomes more of data, like what you pull from the world and what you pull from the internet, and maybe not so much of anything you've experienced, but just information, what you think is going to work. But it's if it's not coming from a genuine place, then do people really connect with your art or no? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure. I know for me personally, I always try to put something of myself, like some personal part of me, in every film. I could probably look at every movie I've made and look at that storyline, and it's going to be some reflection of my life, some kind of way, something I went through. Yeah.
That's interesting, because even I think, is it William Gibson, cyberpunk writer, like Neuromancer and those different books about the cyber world, he says he's actually not a technophile. He's actually the opposite. And you would think that would not be the case, since that's what he's writing about. So that just those sort of the need for human connection in terms of developing a story. And it is lost, and maybe people gain it from creating burner accounts, and then they try to get reactions from people, and maybe that's how they can sort of see human emotion, is pushing buttons online, which definitely there's places for that. But that's a good point in terms of being able to go out and just connect with people. Now, even when you see them, there's a phone in their hand, and you're not really connecting.
Yeah. You see, like, you go to lunch with someone and their head's in the phone the whole time, or everybody at the table, everybody's head is in the phone, and then they'll eat, and then when they're done eating, their heads are back in the phone, and it's just like there's so much going on around you, but no one's paying attention to it. It's just interesting. Like that's the way people wake up. The minute they open their eyes, they start reaching for their phone. Before they can even see clearly, they've already reached for their phone, and they're trying to see what they missed, and
whether it's real or not.
Yeah, and then I'm afraid to see what the future's gonna look like. They'll probably just get chips implanted and be online 24 hours even when they sleep. I don't know,